What was the weekend for you like after that in terms of you slept on it and you slept on it again and you let it resonate a little bit? That's my first thought is I mean, all the Niner stuff we've talked about a lot and we will continue to at 888-957-9570. But the further I get from this, I'm like, Dallas? What? Why there?
It makes perfect sense to me.
You think?
Yeah.
Why?
Because what you said in the crossover, in large part, it's to put a little bit of heat on Dak. And also, no matter where he went, unless he went to Arizona, and I'm looking at the reports today that Kyler Murray is going on the PUP, and they cut Colt McCoy, so Josh Dobbs is their one. And would you rather have Dobbs or Trey Lance? I mean, Trey Lance could go to Arizona.
They want Caleb Williams. That's what they're doing.
Exactly. But if you're Trey Lance and you want Trey Lance to play, there are other opportunities for him to play. But if you're Trey Lance, honestly, you want a year to just go somewhere and not be here and not be like the bust and not be QB3. So go to Dallas, and it's all about Dak, and it's all about the Cowboys and the star and all the rest of it. Trey Lance can spend a year like Trubisky did in Buffalo where you're just a guy. And if Dak gets hurt, they're not going to Trey Lance. They're going to Cooper Rush. So Trey can spend a whole year to just get better, get healthy, and then next year either be a Cowboy or go somewhere else and have a real shot to rehab his career.
I buy what you're saying. It's the same thing Peter King said to us last week when we asked, what do you think Trey wants? And he said, anywhere but San Francisco. And Dallas qualifies.
Right.
That is not San Francisco. So, yes, from that standpoint, it works. However, yeah, I'm with you on why it makes sense for Dallas. It horribly does not for Trey. That's kind of what I'm getting at. This is not good for those of you who are like, okay, he needs to play. We want to see it. We're excited by it. I think he is one of those players who we're going to follow. Like, there's a handful of them in sports right now. I want to see what Wiseman does in Detroit this year. I want to see what Garoppolo does in Vegas.
You don't know Jordan Poole.
I want to see what Jordan Poole does in Washington, and I want to see what Trey Lance, well, we won't. Because whatever he does is going to be on the practice field at Dallas, likely at best. Sure, Dallas could end up having injuries. Trey Lance could end up in the game, and that would change the entire conversation. But as we've all said, he is no closer to playing there than he was here. And we all agree, it sounds, that the motivations for Dallas to make this acquisition are not for Trey Lance to play football.
Not now.
No, it's to send a message to Dak Prescott.
But it's also a bit of a lottery ticket for them. So they spend a fourth. They spend a fourth, and they get a guy that they only have to pay $6 million to find out if he's any good. And if they love him, then maybe he becomes their new QB. And if not, well, you spent basically nothing, a fourth-round pick, to bring a guy in and pay him $6 million to have a look, and maybe they use him in certain situations and certain packages and whatnot. But it basically is not a free look for Dallas, but it's a very low-cost look at a guy who they had rated as a second-round talent. Many teams had as a first-round talent. So you have a chance to get a player in that you would not have been able to draft. Yeah. So why not?
Well, right. Which, by the way, I take the way you just talked about Trey in Dallas and apply it to Sam Darnold here with the 49ers. Yeah. I know a lot of people look at this situation and go, Sam freaking Darnold, this guy's he's already a bust. It's a confirmed bust. Well, hold on a second. The 49ers did not ask Sam Darnold to come be their starter. They asked him to come be their backup. So I'm not going to be looking at Sam Darnold through the lens of, well, if he ends up in the game, he better be amazing because he's handpicked. Yeah, he's handpicked to be the 2. That's a totally different set of circumstances. The Jets placed a 3rd overall pick on Sam Darnold, and he busted out. And that's the end of that. The 49ers placed hey, want to come be our 2? That's what this backdrop is. Therefore, the only way that you go freak out if Sam comes in and he's no good is if that happens. And, oh, by the way, coinciding with that is that Trey Lance is amazing somewhere else. The Dallas Cowboys and their fan base will view Trey as a flyer, as a 4th-round pick, as someone who, if the ball ends up in his hands, it's because bad stuff happened to two other people. So there's no pressure there. And in fact, that might be the only good thing. And I think that's kind of what you're insinuating. That's the only good thing about this trade for Trey, is there are going to be less eyeballs, less attention. Not going to be people charting every time a cleat hits the grass in practice and tweeting it out. Well, Trey went right, now he went left, and now he threw high.
And the expression
just
3 first-round picks, ... will never be used in Dallas. They're not going to care that the Niners spent 3 first-round picks to move up to take a guy who turned out to not be the guy. Now he's just a third-round quarterback, or he's a third-string quarterback, rather. Somebody that the Dallas Cowboy fans don't have to even really care about until they need to care about him.
Yep.
And now it's like, okay, he's QB3, and they know they love Cooper Rush. He was amazing when he started last year when Dak was out. And so Trey Lance is kind of a third-string curiosity.
Yeah, so that's why the more I think about it, not a great day. A good day. I mean, the pressure's off, but it's not a great day for Trey Lance.
But I wonder where he could have gone to get where he would be QB2. And I don't want to go through every team's depth chart and like pick and choose destinations, but
I don't even mean it as QB2 as much as, is there a path? In other words, is your quarterback situation just unsettled to where you may decide at some point this season, like, we'd like to get a look, or maybe you're even the best guy here. Tampa's the first one that comes to mind to me.
Right, but
I would want to go there.
That situation's not unsettled.
Oh, it's totally unsettled.
And that's based on how you feel about Baker Mayfield. Well, they think differently about Baker Mayfield.
I don't know.
And then they've got Kyle Trask that I would imagine they feel better about than Trey Lance in terms of Tampa Bay.
If they loved Baker Mayfield, then I would suggest 2 weeks before the season they wouldn't have still not named a starter. So I don't think
they named him last week.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
2 weeks before.
No, my point is the other way. He would have been named the starter a long time before that.
Right.
If you loved him.
But I don't think that their situation is unsettled. I don't think any QB situation is unsettled.
I think it is. And in fact, our buddy Shapiro sent out the most likely, these are odds.
Jimmy Shapiro,
the most likely QB to lose his starting job. Who do you think number one on the board is?
It's probably Baker, based on your big setup.
So that's my point. I want to go to the Titans. I want to go to the Bucks. I want to go to the Commanders. I want to go to the Patriots. I want to go somewhere where it looks like, that's our starter, but no, we're not that into him.
Yeah.
And we don't have a presumptive number one behind him.
But how often does a QB go to a new team and, be able to hit the field within 3 to 4 weeks? Like Jimmy G came here to the Niners and he sat for a few weeks and he had more experience and more gravitas than Trey Lance will in any team that he goes to.
But I'm not saying it needs to be 3 to 4 weeks. Just a path to maybe getting on the field. In Dallas, without 2 injuries, there's no chance of you getting on the field in 2 years. 2 years.
Right, but the path doesn't necessarily have to be a 1 year straight line path to where it's, it's either you make it this year or else if he shows signs of being a good player that they like, then maybe he moves up to 2 next year and Dak's in a contract year or things happen fast in the NFL. You know that.
I know that, but I also just think that's playing the same game that was true here, which is, well, if a bunch of ifs happen, then this happens, and then maybe he could move up, and then maybe that guy gets hurt, and then maybe he gets a shot. It's like,
but here he had that stigma. I think that he goes to Dallas, and it's no stigma. So,
agreed.
Would you rather be QB3 here or QB3 anywhere else?
Yes,
probably anywhere else.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I'm not saying that this is an equal move. I'm just saying of all the other options out there, it's pretty far down the list if I'm Trey Lance. I don't want to go to Kansas City. I don't want to go to Buffalo. And oddly, these are the teams that have been reported to be pretty into the idea, probably because, sometimes I think that actually helps an acquisition this time of year because remember the idea of the Vikings. Like we were told, one of the things that may make them hesitate is they don't want to send that message to Kirk Cousins.
Right.
I think Dallas did. Dallas would like to send that message to Dak Prescott. Minnesota doesn't want to send that message to Kirk Cousins. These quarterbacks don't like it. I don't know if y'all heard Dak Prescott's press conference on this. He did not sound very happy. He did not like this. This was something that annoyed him at a minimum. You could see it on his face. You could see it with his comments. So I get why Dallas did it. I just don't think it's good for Trey. If the whole idea was give Trey a shot to where somebody in practice at least is going to focus on him and see if there's a path to him maybe actually being the most talented guy on their roster, there are 5, 6, 7 teams who fit that description right now. Dallas isn't one of them.
Right, but then again, of those teams that you look at, how many of them would want to roll the dice on an unproven guy to come in and be their backup, a quarterback who is making as much money as he's making without having done anything really in the National Football League? And I also look at the 3 teams that are manned by men who used to be in San Francisco, and that's the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Texans, and none of them really rushed to try to bring him in. So what does that tell you about the internal assessment of Trey Lance?
You're talking about coaches. I would take it further to someone whose job is literally to be a talent evaluator. I think there are 2 things that happened this last week that if you're Trey Lance, they are unfortunate reality checks. Number 1, as we discussed with Steiny, if the 49ers were really fearful that Trey was going to become great, they ain't sending him to their rival.
Right.
Because that would be the most embarrassing way to do it possible. So that's number 1. But number 2 is the tweet sent out by Diana Rossini last week that mentions the fact that Rand Carthon was in the 49ers front offices, took over as the GM of the Tennessee Titans. You are in charge of talent with the Titans, and you have a very unsettled quarterback situation. The Niners call, ask about Trey Lance. Titans, totally disinterested.
Dial tone, yeah, completely.
That's a smack in the face. That's a glass of water in the face.
Yeah, and they've got Malik Willis as the backup and Will Levis is the 3, and it's a spot where Ryan Tannehill is nearing the end of his run, and you don't think he's very good anyway.
Who, Tannehill?
Yeah.
He's all right. He's all right. He's not going to win a Super Bowl.
No, but he's won games. Only 34 quarterbacks have ever won a Super Bowl. So
correct.
That comment feels a little Super Bowl or busty.
Okay.
In terms of,
I don't even think he's. I don't.
He's won playoff games.
He has.
They've had good teams.
He's not bad. He is one of those that I would constantly put.
He's like a Jimmy Garoppolo.
He's like a Jimmy. He's like a Dak. He's like a Derek Carr. You're watching these guys.
He's like a Brock Purdy.
We can't say that yet. We don't know what Brock Purdy is. You can't put him in that bucket any more than I can put him in the bucket of, no, he's actually undefeated in amazeballs.
It's true.
You can't put, and in fact,
I would put him in the bucket of won playoff games, but not a conference championship game or a Super Bowl bucket, and that's where Tannehill is.
Yeah, I think the difference between a Tannehill and a Garoppolo and a Dak and a Cousins and a Carr and a Kyler, like, yes,
and a Brock?
These people, no, it's too early. You can't label Brock. I don't think you can label Brock anything. Like you can say,
you gotta label him something. It's what we do here.
Well, then fine. I'll label him as one of the top 5 QBs in the league. Because who else went 7-0 last year?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, but if you want to...
you just did.
No, but if you want to label
and Grandy's cutting it right now.
Yeah.
Cut that ass,
snip,
Grandy.
Snip.
Already cut it, actually.
Thank you. I can't even see you, but... you complete me, Grandy.
That's how you lead off the 6 o'clock hour. You make statements like that.
I love it. Yeah. Willard says Purdy's a top 5 QB. Not ever. Did you say ever?
Well, yes, let's go with that.
Okay.
Of all
let's
time.
Go.
Who else won their first 7 starts? Anyone? I don't know. So if you're gonna tell me he's this, then I can tell you he's that. I don't think either are true yet.
Yeah.
I don't think either are true yet. We got to see. I think there's a lot of optimism. That's fair. Although more pessimism than I have.
Right.
But we can't label. That list I gave you, they're B-level quarterbacks who can.
And they've got more of a body of work to where you feel more comfortable labeling them.
They're Alex Smith-esque. They can take you to the playoffs. Can they cut you through the playoffs? That's what's difficult for guys like that. And you watch teams often sign them once, sign them twice. then wear out and decide let's move on, like the Raiders did with Carr, like the Niners did with Garoppolo,
right?
Like the Cowboys are threatening to do with Dak, like the Titans are about to do with Tannehill, like I think the Cardinals might do with Kyler sometime soon.
Boy, good luck with that.
And like the Vikings might do next year with Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? Like that's what you do with guys like that. So anyway, that would have been a great spot for Trey, but they weren't interested.